Hello again, welcome to another edition of Croplife Retail Week. Paul Schrimpf, again joined by Eric Sfiligoj.
Man, we spoiled the audience. We've actually been here a couple weeks in a row.
Yeah, they're spoiled.
Hey,
They're like,
it's the holidays. You eat too much, you get too much, you get spoiled. I'm
really
used to this with a 10-year-old.
It's really counting on seeing those guys on Saturday morning. I can't get enough of that. Good gravy.
Hey, come on.
Speaking of things I can't get enough of, Top 100 is out at last.
Yes,
right?
out at last. I know people have been asking me since I was telling everyone over the last few weeks it would be out on our website come Monday the 3rd, and I guess on the 3rd it wasn't quite ready, but 3rd of December that is, but lo and behold it is now out. Went out with our e-newsletter this week, so everyone out in the field, if you're curious about the Croplife 100 and want to get an early preview before the issue arrives in your mailbox, probably next week, it is online, so check it out.
Yeah, I mean, Pinnacle was already celebrating on Twitter with lots of tweets about their being on the top 7, and
was that a doubt? Well, that's all right.
Well, I mean, I think $1 billion thing, maybe that was it.
Okay,
but they were summarily partying, so hey, we can make somebody happy. That's good.
Yes.
So,
well, speaking of numbers, Paul, this is a segment. I know
that was not a segue. It was horrible.
It was horrible. This is a segment I like to call "Fun with Math." Paul, here's a couple of math numbers for you. I know you love.
It's funny how these segments never repeat. We never do the same segment.
Fun with Math.
Wow. Okay, that didn't work.
All right, Paul. Fun with Math. Here's 2 numbers for you. You got to connect the dots for me.
Oh boy.
12% and 45%.
Doesn't have anything to do with the number of times my car doesn't start in a given week.
What is wrong with your car?
I don't know. I have a very old car. Anyway, please do tell me.
Okay.
What do those 2 things have in common?
Well, they may seem unconnected, but they probably are. 12% is the amount of net farm income that is expected to drop percentage-wise in 2018 from 2017. Mm-hmm. It looks like the farmers in the U.S. this year will have about $66 billion in revenue, maybe a little over, and that's going to be down from the mid-$70 billion range during last year. And a lot of that, Paul, probably ties to the trade tariff ongoing debate between the U.S. and China. And the 45% is the amount of drop in imports that China is going to be getting from the U.S. That's going to be going down to about $9 billion only this year from about $20 billion the year before. So those 2 things are connected, and I know that, Paul, we just this week saw a little bit of a roller coaster ride on Wall Street. I mean, I have some non-ag friends who ask me, is it really a big deal, this whole trade war between the U.S. and China? And I guess, President Trump had said he had an agreement with the Chinese, and the stock market went up about 500 points. And the next day, I guess the Chinese said, well, wait a minute, we're not quite sure we have an agreement, and the stock market dropped about 800. So obviously, Wall Street is paying attention to this whole issue as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much more to add to that. It's just we're going to have to, and it was a lot of talk about all this stuff at ARA too. Is there's just a lot to weather. There's not a ton that we can all do about it right now. We're just going to have to figure out a way to negotiate around this. If we've had these farm income times down, it's not historic lows, but it's getting back down to levels before the last round of exuberance. So it's not at a place we haven't been before, but it's going to be adjusting and just figuring out how to get through this thing.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, the farm economy hates uncertainty above all else. I mean, they deal with uncertain weather most of the time. So any other uncertainty that kind of gets thrown into the mix, everybody gets upset about. But we'll have to see, Paul. I mean, I've heard folks say that even if this trade war gets settled tomorrow, it's still going to take some time before Chinese buyers come back, and U.S. agriculture will be benefiting again from making some sales to the Chinese consumers. So.
Right. I mean, we've spent many years getting ourselves acclimated to the way things are now. Things just don't change in a heartbeat when you can't it's very difficult to just make a fundamental change in everything just by a swipe of a pen or a declaration. So we shall see.
Yeah, so what is that you're holding in your hand? I've been curious about that.
I've been puzzling over it for a long time, like probably since I got back from Boca. This was given to me by Donnie Taylor over at the ARA, and
Okay.
it's a lovely piece.
Okay.
But is it a cup? Is it a mug? Right now it's holding coffee. It's quite comfortable. There's no handle, but it seems to hold coffee. It's like a mini Yeti thing, but it's not a Yeti.
Mini Yeti?
I don't
A
know.
little foot? Is that what you're saying?
I guess. But it's it's a satisfactory receptacle for the amount of coffee that I drink here in front of the camera. So it works out fine.
So for our viewers, if you want to weigh in, is it a mug? Is it a cup? Is it a flask? What would we call this exactly?
It's not a flask.
I'm reaching.
I'd be a
here.
lot happier right now if it were a flask.
Okay.
So yeah, and anybody else who wants to, people say, I keep meaning to send you guys mugs. Well, send them, send those mugs because we'll be happy to feature them on the air and
With a handle.
Yeah, preferably with the hand. But this is good too. Don't need to
Okay.
be upset or just think
Thank you, Donnie.
I appreciate any gifts I get.
Although Paul next year, if he speaks, wants a flask. Keep that in mind. Preferably filled, I'm
That's
sure.
Always, yes. Okay, well, that's it for this edition of Croplife Retail Week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.